I'm Hanifa Walida, y'all.
And this is Red Summer. And we are your Gay Aunties.
Indeed.
Today we have Yoruba Richin and Stephanie Gale as our guests for the show.
All right. Oh, yeah. Lord mercy. We don't do it.
We making it.
We making it. Yes, Lord.
All right. So if you are new to the show, if you have never joined us before, hey, babies. We're your aunties. And we just want you to take a second and imagine that we are the aunties who are in the back rolling their eyes during a gender reveal party. Of course, you don't remember this, but me trying to explain to your mama the difference between gender and sex after a few glasses of wine, it was quite a scene.
We them aunties, So understand that, your Gay Aunties is a bi-weekly live show and podcast that is centered around queer adulting. Every Sunday, we go live on YouTube where we ask you questions about life, love, and the entangled. So subscribe below. And if you miss us live here Sundays at 1 p.m., we come to you again on Wednesday with our audio podcast by the same name, Gay Aunties, which you can find wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes. Okay. So now that you know where you are, welcome home, child. We are your Gay Aunties, and we are here for the children.
And we have a beautiful, beautiful show coming up for y'all. We are so excited. Look at us doing things. All right. Okay. So we have a great show coming up. We are so excited to interview filmmaker Yoruba Richin, all right, about her new documentary, The Killing of Breonna Taylor, which is on Hulu. Honey.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu and FX right now, y'all. Okay, we're going to talk to her about her experience making the film and thoughts on activism in the arts. All right, Let's get in it. And later on in the post show, we're going to have Stephanie Gale, who will be here performing live in the studio.
Yeah.
All right, from her backyard. And coming up in just a bit, we have the first of two letters. Yes, two letters. Some auntie gems and continued appreciation for our good gay lives. All right.
Yes. So subscribe just below and start texting your peoples to join us live here on youtube.com/your Gay Aunties.
Woohoo! All right, girl. Woosah, it's been 2 weeks. How have you been?
I've been a little overwhelmed. As you know, I'm a school teacher and we're doing our virtual teaching thing right now. And technology is crazy, but we're figuring it out and giving ourselves a lot of grace as we make our way through this pandemic-induced experience. How are you?
I am recovering from dental surgery.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I'm recovering from dental surgery. I had to get one of my wisdom teeth in the back because I just couldn't reach it. It was doing things. And the dentist even told me that I had a tooth behind that tooth.
Wow.
So I was jabber with it. It took them an hour to yank that bad boy out of my mouth. So I have been recovering from that. But in the meantime, I've been gardening. I've been getting praise from my neighbors because they see me out there every morning.
Nice.
Me and the land.
Great.
Yes, ma'am. But other than that,
my mom's house.
Maintain it. Oh, yes, of course we can tell by certain pictures. So those are mom type
like different backgrounds.
Yes. And guess what, y'all? Me and Red were talking about, while she's at her mom's house, and I'm here pumping down with my mom that we're going to have a little fun with the moms.
Yeah. It's going to be
once we come.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be totally crazy because we are our parents' children, no matter how much we fight it.
Oh, right? Absolutely. My mother is so much cooler than I am, so I don't know.
Me and my mom, we still on a debate thing of who's cooler, but
Yeah.
we'll
Oh, my mom won. Yes. Hands
all right,
down.
all right, y'all. Let's go into the follow me part of the show. This is the part of the show where we feature one of you who follow us on Instagram at your Gay Aunties. So we call it Follow Me. And our Follow Me for episode 94 is
Follow me, follow me, follow me, yeah.
it is Ho on the Go. Okay. And I
Yes.
love how he spells it in Francis. So
Mhm.
Heaux on the go, Geaux. Regardless how you spell it, she's Ho on the go. And in this follow me worthy post, all right, by Ho on the go, she drops some sexual ethic bombs on all y'all regarding the latest Odom, why don't you mind your own business, Beckham gossip. So here you go. Here is Ho on the go.
Hey y'all. So I just wanted to go live really quick and talk about this whole Odell Beckham Jr. situation because people really need to leave folks' sex lives and business alone. So first of all, there was a huge violation because somebody went and told his business on the internet. Whose business is that to tell? Definitely not theirs, number one. Number two, if somebody is into a kink or a fetish, that is their business, and they are in a moment of vulnerability where they are sharing this and expressing that and experiencing it with another person. And for somebody to go out there and talk shit about it, no pun intended, and be rude and kink shame someone is horrifying and horrific, and it invalidates people and their sexuality and their sexual desires and feelings. And that's something that we really need to address. Don't yuck someone's yum just because it's not for you, or because someone slighted you, or because y'all are not together anymore. What y'all did together during that period of time, or what y'all chose to share or do with each other during that time, is your business. It is not yours to spread afterwards. Period. If someone wants to dress up like, I don't know, the Powerpuff Girls. I've been seeing a lot of Powerpuff Girl cosplay lately. And, get spanked and electrocuted a little bit, then let them. If somebody likes to have sex with food all around the bed, let them do that too. That's their business, and it's not yours to say that's nasty or not. That's it. That's the message. Let people live their lives.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it.
I love it.
That's very true.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that someone said it from our community. You know what I mean? Like, just say it. Just say it. So just so y'all know, she does all kinds of things on her page. She does reviews on a lot of sex toys and products and gives really that kind of, I ain't gonna front, like auntie level sexual guidance. You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to have Ho on the go on the show.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay.
That's coming up, y'all. We figured it out. We gonna tap her.
Okay.
I'm
excited about that.
make that happen. Yes, definitely. All right. Well, there's no better thing to come after the children, but some more children.
Well, thank you, Ho on the go. I'm
excited
to see how we can partner and get some more good advice out to the children. And if you want some of your work, passion, or just your beautiful queer self featured here on Your Gay Aunties, just on the follow me section specifically, then you can follow us on IG at Your Gay Aunties. And then just do what you do. You don't have to do anything special. Just be your wonderful self, and we will follow you back and see what you're doing. And then you may be part of the show. It's just that simple.
Basically.
Yes.
Basically. All right. So we're going to. I'm sorry, dog. What you say?
Oh, I was just going to say we can keep it going with our first letter.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes.
Here's your letter.
Then your gist. Carrie coming out the bank with these gifs.
Yes.
All right, girl, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it. So this is, are we saying this name?
They didn't say not to.
Okay, so it's from Jessica, Newfound Independence. Yes. So hi, aunties. I absolutely adore you both and your podcast. Thank you, Jess. It's been a great comfort for me to feel supported by older LGBT members, something I don't have in my life, and has really helped me learn how I can be a better ally to the Black people in my life.
Say word.
Yes. So if you are looking for letters, I'd love any advice on navigating this new change with my parents. I live in the same city and don't have any siblings. So it's always been just the three of us. I've been very fortunate to live with my parents for 3 years after grad school to make extra large payments on my student loans. While this is a huge blessing, COVID made me realize I need my own space. We understand.
And we didn't have COVID back then. But
Right. So my new adventure has begun with my new apartment and a puppy coming in a few weeks.
Aww.
Do you have any advice on my newfound independence? Some do's and don'ts you've seen other young people make right when they move out would be helpful. So last night I was riding in a car with a friend, and that song New Apartment by Ari Lennox was on, and she was like, I just got my new apartment. And one of the lines in the song, she was like, yeah, and I'm not scared of the dark anymore because I got to pay this electric bill. So I think one of the main things, plan things out, like pace yourself. These new bills are coming through. You want to make sure that you take great care in planning your budget, knowing exactly what you have to spend and what you're spending it on, because you don't want to come home and flip that switch one day and nothing happens, baby. You surely don't want to try to get ready for that date. You try to hop in that shower and you turn that knob and you turn it back and turn it.
And it says,
baby, you don't want any of that. So it's just you. It's nobody else to blame it on. So you need to make sure that you just plan very well on how this living alone experience is going to be for you financially.
Exactly. And just to bounce off what Red says, and just a real practical thing to do is get to understand the rhythm of your bills. When do they arrive?
Mm-hmm.
And cross-reference that with the rhythm of your money arriving. As long as they align, you could put them on automatic, especially the baseline bills like electric, water, gas, like food. I mean, well, food's just a budget thing, but the other thing I would like to say that my advice is more about creating a home. I have a personal rule, and it depends. Some people are really, I'm kind of a really internal person. I'm really about my space. But I've learned that I should have a rule, or still have a rule, that I don't, unless I'm having a party, I don't have no more than 3 people in my house at the same time. And when you have a new home, I would be very selective. I think with the excitement of a new home, and also you're young, having parties, great.
Come over.
Exactly. But people, depending on where your peers are, one, they may not have the greatest apartment, so then you don't want your apartment to become the hangout spot if that's what you're not clear on it being. So maybe you want to get clarity on what do you want your space to be for you, and then everybody else works around that. But a very clear practical thing is I would limit the people you have in your house at one time. As a regular rule outside of parties, just so you can start to understand the energy that you want maintained in your space, because it's easy for someone else to take over your space if you allow them to.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar as well. Like, give yourself time to enjoy your space alone before you keep trying to fill it up with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big thing in having your own space is like just being able to be there. It's calm, it's peaceful. Everything is where you left it. Right? You know, and don't mistake the urge to be social with loneliness.
Ooh.
Like sometimes when you don't give yourself an opportunity to learn how to be with yourself, you think that you need other people there to fill that silence. Like practice that so that you don't start bringing in people into your space out of that place of lack, right? If you can make sure that the people that you're inviting to your home are there because like you genuinely enjoy their company, you know, or you're really, you know, whatever.
They're there to uplift you.
Yeah. Just make sure that you're not just filling the space up with people.
Oof. All right, Jessica. Well, congratulations again on the new part. There's no feeling like that, especially when it's your first, boy. That's just like, mwah, that's such a sweet, that's such a sweet feeling. So enjoy that. It's yours to enjoy. Enjoy your new puppy. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your letter, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. Now, we always enjoy y'all's letters, and we're going to answer another one later on in the show. But if you I know, right? If you need to write your gay aunties, you can do so at yourgayaunties@gmail.com. You can DM us on Instagram at your gay aunties. Okay, so let's do the next best thing now, and let's dig into some of them auntie. Them get them gems out them auntie bags. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
do I have like an auntie wallet? I don't really know.
You can put your
Everybody look around. This will bring you the 2-bit Josh, you see.
and just you can just play that song in your house.
Right, exactly.
Feel a brand new day.
For those who aren't here with us live, our wonderful live engineer Kara just bust out with the most wonderful gift that we all love. It's from The Wiz for Auntie Gems. All right, y'all.
So what's your gem for the day?
My gem for the day is in part inspired by our guest later on. But you know, Hulu, all the cable stations used to be on there. They love some black people in our stories right now. Great. Anyway, so I, you know, actually after I watched The Killing of Breonna Taylor, something else they had on Hulu or Hulu HBO Max, excuse me, is the Yusef Hawkins story, Storm Over Brooklyn, and that brought back memories. For those who are not aware, who either did not live in New York at the time or aren't old enough to remember, Yusef Hawkins was a young man. We were actually around the same age, around the time. He's around 1989, teenager, like 17 years old. Goes with some friends to Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. He lives in East Brooklyn, East New York, excuse me. And you have to understand that though New York has the impression of being this big melting pot, people from all around the world, or what have you, that was not my understanding. I still knew that there were neighborhoods I could not go into unless I was really, really careful. Right, and Bensonhurst was one of them, and so he went in there with his friends to buy a used car and got caught up in with some Italian boys, and he was killed. And the reason why I'm showing this trailer is because I want you guys to think about something. I want you to think about how this correlates with now, the actions that were taken then, what happened then, and I want you to see yourself in this kind of timeless continuum of struggle. All right, let's play the clip.
Yusuf, he had that little spark in him. He inspired his brothers. I saw it early on. My cousin's going places.
People in this post-Obama era want to look at New York in the 80s and 90s in the lens of today, don't quite understand that the racial divisions were over the top.
Bensonhurst made people say, New York is like that?
stopped. Bunch of white guys came around the corner, surrounded us.
Next thing I know, I hear gunshots.
On Bailey Avenue and 20th Avenue, somebody just got shot. A bunch of white boys just shot a black guy.
I gotta ask you flat out, who killed Yusuf Hawkins?
It wasn't my friends, and it wasn't me.
My son has been tried and executed only because of the color of his skin.
This should have never happened to him.
They evaluate the evidence, they'll realize it wasn't a racial case.
You'd have to be stupid to not determine that there was a racist element.
Martin Luther King used to say, make the comfortable uncomfortable and make the uncomfortable comfortable. So I said, we should march in the neighborhood.
They did not want us there, and they made that known.
It's like unbelievable how people acted out.
We're not just gonna go away quietly.
We will be back, and that is a fact.
One more win has taken us.
My brother's death went down. People was yelling out his name.
Okay. Whew, it brings back chills. But one of the there's two things I just want to highlight really quickly. Is this idea of mobility, and we talked about this a little bit before the show. This idea of Blackness and mobility, and that this is the undercurrent fight that we have been fighting since day one.
Yeah.
Right. Since we got our quote unquote freedom. Right. Is the idea that whatever dreams we want to manifest, and however we physically need to go and do that, we should be able to do that. And so though there was a time we could not leave the plantation, and then it was a time we could not leave the state, and then it was a time it was hard as hell to maneuver through the states or just to travel, you know, and that's up until now, let it be told. Let it be told. But even this idea of, say, within a metropolis, in a northern metropolis of New York, this idea of mobility. Here's a young man just going with his friend to buy a car. This is a dream. I want to get a car. I'm a teenager. I want a car. So he is now deprived of this aspect of his teenagehood, to have the freedom to think about getting a used car, because, oh, how dare he go into a neighborhood that is not his home, where people don't look like him in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So when you think about that idea of mobility that we've been fighting for, mobility. And another thing is the idea of persistence. What a lot of people don't know is when they say they marched in Bensonhurst, they didn't march once, twice, 3 times. They marched over a dozen times.
Wow.
Over a dozen times. A few hundred Black people marched through Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And the whole point is, we gonna wear you down till you give up that killer. Okay? So in this microcosm of New York, I can see, and it helps me even more appreciate what young people are doing now, you know, and how history repeats itself, but also the history before, you know, strengthens the history to come, if you will, you know. So if you haven't seen the Yusuf Hawkins story, I believe it's called The Storm Over Brooklyn, check it out. And if you're a young person that's out there in the streets in the fight, you're going to see yourself through the time continuum. Yes.
So interesting. I'm, you know, being in Chicago, every Friday for years, they played Chubb Rock, right? And he has a line in the songs, never forget Yusuf Hawkins when you walk in, you know, just going there, right? And so even though that song was old and the event had passed so long ago, in Chicago, it was still kind of relevant and present because we heard Yusuf's name every Friday for years. I don't know why that Chubb Rock song was the song that they played, like to get you hyped for the weekend, but you know, and you think about, you know, even in the comments, like some of us hadn't heard the name, we don't really know the story, and so having these documentaries and having whatever art is created to keep those stories alive is so vital.
Mm-hmm.
It's so vital. Because like maybe one Friday now in 2020, a kid will be like, who is this person? Right?
Exactly. Well, actually, a perfect example is Yusef Hawkins, God rest his soul, is that if his grandmother knew where he was as a young person, he was a bit oblivious,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And one thing I caught from that documentary that really was the grandmother just heart-wrenched that she wasn't able to tell her grandson, no, not that neighborhood. Because she had the knowledge that he just didn't have. And for whatever reason, they didn't pass on, whatever.
Yeah, and you're in your bubble. You don't
And you're
even
in your bubble. And you're opening up a lot of neighborhood bubbles. People don't be leaving their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a good example of how we have to pass on. History is so important for creating your present and the future. Otherwise, you're running in circles, or you're going to a neighborhood you were prepared to go into.
Absolutely.
Anyway, what's your jam?
Right. So my jam is on the same vein. It's equally as weighted, but more updated. Right. And it's also in New York. So I'll play the clip and then we can talk about it a little bit after. Yeah.
The department says there are no quotas.
Well, I can tell you there are quotas in the NYPD.
Truly explosive allegations.
They're coming from police officers who are part of what's being called the NYPD 12, who filed a class action lawsuit in federal court.
This is not just another lawsuit. 12 cops willing to step up like this, because you're not going to get this again for 100 years.
Hold it for one quick second. Now, to record.
From the beginning, I saw how this job was. It was not about helping people, it's about numbers.
Who's targeted most? The minority community.
Boom. And all this got dismissed.
All this got dismissed.
Once you start getting arrested, it goes in your record. They taking away jobs that they could be future lawyers, future cops.
Supervisors that are using police officers as a revenue-producing agent for the city. This system has to change.
We all put our jobs on the line. We put everything on the line.
This is something that was placed on my desk.
You're still a police officer. And there are people in our community that don't work with police officers, period.
This is David versus Goliath. Without public support, we're nothing.
How long do you think you're gonna keep the powder keg half on?
I believe in struggle, and with struggle comes change.
Can the NYPD be what cops are supposed to be?
Where do we begin? First of all, who need to give us some money? Because we is digging them up.
Right. Today is definitely,
they're coming with it. But okay.
Yeah. And so I wanted to highlight this particularly because people always talk about like, oh, there's like not all cops are bad, right? Like every time you try to, say something, it's the, oh, well, not everybody, or the bad apple thing or whatever. And I did not think that was true at all. Personally, I thought it was just something that people say to deflect, right? And so I also have police officers in my family and still did not connect like what that experience is like to be a Black and brown person in the police industry, knowing that this is the setup. We know now that, well, we already know, we've known that in a lot of areas, or in most areas, the police are an income generator for the cities.
Yes,
police, like the Department of Revenue is where all of your tickets go. Like every time you have a run-in with police, you are generating revenue for the city. And so this becomes a huge snowball that runs out of control, because if you have to have a quota of how many people get a ticket, then you're not going out in your work day, looking to make people safe and to provide a service and blah, blah, blah. You're going out looking to find criminals, and you will find them because you have to.
Find them or make them.
Right. And so when the response is like, oh, well, if Black people weren't committing crimes and they wouldn't be whatever, like, you have to understand that plenty of people are criminalized on purpose, right? They are criminalized for the quota. They are placed in positions, like you think about Elijah McClain. He was just walking. He said, listen, I'm not a bad guy. Like, I'm just different. Like, I'm sorry, right? And he was immediately approached with aggression and attacked for nothing. And we see so many of these stories that you have to, at some point, you have to question, like, how does any kind of change in this society, change in this policy even happen? And pointing to the quotas is a big start.
And again, it always comes back to this country's other Achilles heels, which is capitalism and the way that we spew it, and how capitalism intersects with municipalities. A quota system is like, so you need to basically, a quota is another way of saying you need to make so much money for us by the end of the day off of these Negroes and Latinos back. That's what I need you to do. Go out there and do. Go in the field and pick some cotton. But this
being in a different neighborhood now. I've always lived in the city, and this is my first time really living in the suburbs. When our community opened back up, of course, all the children in the community went straight to the basketball court. They went straight to the tennis courts. They went outside. They hadn't been outside in so long. And my son came back. He said, well, the police are kicking everybody out of the basketball court. And so we were able to contact the community and say, the police are not welcome in here. These are our children. And even if they are inviting other children in to come and play basketball with them, we live here. They can do that.
Yes.
And the woman said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was happening. Oh, well, the basketball court is right next to the community center. I don't know how you didn't know that this was happening. You have to be the one to call the police, right?
Yeah.
But understanding that you can do that in my neighborhood now. I couldn't do that in my neighborhoods before. The police came through and did what they wanted to do, right? And if you resisted in any way, and there's another documentary of Stop Resisting, right, of how many people are criminalized for not allowing themselves to be harassed and arrested on site. That's their only crime. Is questioning their arrest.
But we picked some gems, boy, because and unfortunately, we have so many gems that look and feel like this. As far as the historical gems of just us trying to get through and overcome something that's happened to us. But I would like to move into our guest for the day, because her documentary is going to be the cream on the crop for our dive down the documentary dealing with our people today. All right, y'all. So we're going to welcome out today our guest today on the Gay Aunties. Yoruba Richin is a documentary filmmaker whose work has been featured on PBS, New York Times, OpDoc, Frontline Digital, New York Magazine's website, The Cut, The Atlantic, Infield Division. Her current films, The Sit-In, Harry Belafonte hosts The Tonight Show, will premiere in fall of 2020. And she got a lot going on. How It Feels to Be Free will air on American Masters in 2021. All right, see, Yoruba's previous film, The Green Book, again, talking about mobility, right? Okay, The Green Book, Guide to Freedom, was broadcast on the Smithsonian Channel to record record audiences. It was nominated for an Emmy. All right. Oh, we get some dope ass guests. I'm so excited.
Mhm.
Yoruba's feature documentary, The New Black, won multiple festival awards and was nominated for an NAACP Image Award and a GLAAD Media Award before premiering on PBS's Independent Lens. Yoruba is a featured TED speaker, Fulbright Fellow, a Guggenheim Fellow, and a 2016 receipt of the Chicken and Egg Breakthrough Filmmaker Award. And for all these reasons and more, and with her latest documentary, The Killing of Breonna Taylor on FX and Hulu, we welcome to your Gay Aunties, activist and filmmaker, Yoruba Richin.
Hi there.
Hey. How you doing, lady?
I'm good on this Sunday. So good to be on with you guys.
We're so excited to have you here today.
Yes. When I heard about the documentary, I was like, okay, and for me, and to whatever extent, I'm kind of like, for me, I have to admit that I did not understand her story to the degree that you laid out the documentary. So I was so grateful for that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of times we, know the names of these victims of police violence, but we don't know their story. We don't know who they are, what they mean to their families and their friends, their goddaughters. And that's one of the things that really struck me in making this film is that in talking to her family and her friends, it's not just the loss of Breonna Taylor and her life, her young life, but it's the loss of and the trauma to her community, the loss to her sister, to her goddaughter, who's 2 years old, who she took care of a couple nights a week, to her boyfriend Kenny, who they were planning on having, planning on moving forward in their relationship. So the loss of all those dreams. It's really multifaceted, and so I really wanted to tell that story. And also, too, I think it's important to know information about the case as well. There's been a lot of misinformation on different sides. And, me and my team wanted to lay out as much as we can, because there's still stuff we don't know. It's unfolding, but lay out as much as we can what led up to that night and what happened that night.
Yeah, I just first have to agree that this documentary is the most information that I've heard on the case, period. Ever. And I've been watching different news channels and listening to different things and reading articles. But, of course, when it's a little bit at a time and everything is piece by piece. So having this documentary just lay it all out so well. Just thank you. Thank you for doing that work. I wanted to ask, why did you get into documentary filmmaking, and how do you see this as supplementing those gaps for people who are just relying on the media for their information?
Well, I got into documentary filmmaking. Let's see. The short answer is I grew up here in New York, where I'm talking from, and my mom was a playwright. And she was a political playwright. She was considered kind of part of the underground Black arts movement, meaning that, she didn't get as much fame as she should have. But so I grew up with the sort of intersection of arts and politics. That was always something that was part of me. And I did a lot of theater and, up and through college. And then in the mid 90s, as the cameras got smaller and more accessible, I started making videos. And I had always been interested in documentary. I mean, always been, loved documentary film, watching it as I remember watching Eyes on the Prize as a kid. But it never felt like a career. That is something that you could actually do until really the mid 90s and late 90s when the camera started getting smaller. And that was the first time I picked up a camera and just started making these short videos about sort of social issue subjects that I was interested in. And it really just brought together my artistic nature and my, my wanting to tell stories, wanting to illuminate stories, and to correct the record, quite frankly, especially for African Americans. And now it's interesting, I haven't watched that Yusef Hawkins documentary, but it's definitely on my list. But that was part of my growing up and seeing, I very much remember that, what happened there and these other cases and how our voices in the media were either ignored or mischaracterized, and how we were not given, the same political platform in New York at that time. And people often forget that New York in the 1980s was very segregated, very politically, we were very politically marginalized. And that was part of why I wanted to tell these stories, because I remember living through cases like the Yusef Hawkins. And how can we tell the stories, tell our own stories, amplify our concerns and what we are, and social justice issues. So that's how I got into documentary.
I'm listening to you and finding this balance between the investigative and the personal story, and especially in context of us, because a lot of times our who we are as people is left out of the story and is assumed who we are as people. And I love how you started the investigative story of her case through the investigative story of her life and the people who were in her life. So that's where we're jumping off to now understand what happened to her.
Yeah.
So,
and
and
that was super important. That was a very deliberate choice that I made. And one of the reasons was in terms of accuracy, because when this case first, when the events of March 13th, the killing of Breonna Taylor, when it first happened, even the mom, Tamika Palmer, was not getting enough information from the police, what was going on. And she had to go to the lawyers. And it was her friends, the friends and family of Breonna, who started tweeting about it, the Justice for Breonna. They were the ones who got that case out into the public and for it to become, as big and as, so many people rallying around Breonna. That was a large part because of her friends. And so I thought it was important to show why they did it, because of who she was and what she meant to them. And it's always a tricky balance, because the investigation obviously is super important. Again, what happened, what led to those events. But, that was, we definitely had to figure out how we wanted to show who she was and what she meant to people before digging into the sort of nuts and bolts of the investigation.
I have a question. And this is more about the creation of, art activism and the people who choose to do it and how your approach to doing it. So some things that I've experienced with other documentaries is that the perspective can be very skewed, and it's kind of lacking that journalistic credibility, if you will, in lieu of just trying to make a point, with all the passion that we as the people have, right?
Absolutely.
But I would love for you to talk about the importance in how you approach finding that balance, where there's parts of you that just want to just cut necks, but how do you arrive at something like the killing of Breonna Taylor in the way that you did it?
Absolutely, Hanif, and thank you for asking for that. That's really what I deal with in my work all the time. First off, going back to how I started in documentary, when I made the choice to sort of pursue this career, I started in documentary and freelancing, and then I actually went over to the news side, and I worked at ABC News in the investigative unit for 4 years. And I did that because I'd always been interested in news. It was a really great opportunity. It gave me a great learning experience about investigating, writing, understanding the different contours of of journalism. But I always knew I wanted to go back into documentary. So I took those that experience and, have related it to my work. I also started the documentary program at CUNY Graduate School of Journalism. I'm the head of the program. So I'm in a journalism department. And so I'm always thinking about and dealing with these issues around filmmaking and journalism and social justice, because that's a lot of the work that I do. And so I think that, I guess for me, I think it's important we're not gonna, it serves no purpose for us not to understand the complexity and nuances of story, of situations, right? That's most things are not black and white, and most things have have different layers. And as a filmmaker, I like exploring those layers. So even in the New Black, even in my first film, Promised Land, where I went to South Africa and I looked at the efforts of land reform in the country, I wanted to talk to the white landowners who were being forced to give up, to at least contemplate giving up their land. I was interested in their story, as well as the stories of the land that had been taken away from the Black indigenous folks in South Africa. And so that's how I told that story. In the New Black, I also looked at the folks, the African-American folks who were against gay marriage and LGBT rights, and the folks who were trying to bring it to the state of Maryland. And I thought that by telling those stories, we can understand the complexity. I think it's clear in terms of my, my lens and what I am trying to say. And I want that to be clear. And I think with Breonna as well, the Breonna Taylor film, but it's important to understand the different layers of story. And ultimately, ultimately, I think it's important to understand it because, I have a point of view and I want the audience to see that point of view, hopefully, understand it, potentially agree with it. And, and then we can move, and that will bring us maybe will bring us somehow closer to justice. So with Breonna, for example, we had to lay out what the entanglements that she had with her ex-boyfriend that led the police to the door that night. We had to explore that and to understand what this, what they are saying is the reasons why they came to the, why that led to that no-knock warrant. Now, I think you see in the film what we are saying is that none of that matters. None of that matters because she was, first off, no one, I don't care if you're Pablo Escobar, can be, the police can't go into your home and start shooting you and killing you. I mean, that's
shooting in from the terrace window.
Yeah, that's they're not judge, jury, and executioner. So that's one layer. The second layer is that, really the first layer is that there were no drugs or money ever found. She was never accused of anything. She has no history of criminality. There's a lot of allegations, right? But then even a wider net that we tried to portray, and you even mentioned this, I think, previously in your guys' conversation, is a policy, a war on drugs policy that brought this incredible militarization to all of these houses, and including hers, which she really has like no history of any of that. But all of this over some drugs. Over looking for drugs, and it's a war on drugs policy, as we know, that has targeted African Americans, targeted neighborhoods, and resulted in mass incarceration and violence in our communities.
Exactly.
So we have to look at the larger picture of why this is even of the policy that brought these cops to her door.
I mean, this is, I think, the conversation that we are not just trying to have and trying to figure out how to have in different ways so people can understand that this is not just about individual stories or mythical lore around what a cop's place in a community. in the community. All right, this is about the system that, again, speaks to a limited mobility. You know, even if it's a limited mobility in your mind or where you feel you can and cannot go, that all of that is a part of a system. So no matter where they come at you for argument, there's always, well, just look right there. Well, just look right there. It's like you're, you know, it's so encompassing. But one quick question: is there anything while doing this documentary that actually surprised you?
Well, you know, this was done. This was one of the fastest turnarounds I've ever had in making a film. I mean, I went down to Louisville in mid-June, and you know, it was on the air last week. So what, 2.5 months? It was really incredible. So we kept learning stuff. Very, you know, it kept unfolding as we were going. And you know, I go back to, this wasn't surprising, but I guess I didn't realize it. And it's maybe even my bad for not realizing it, because in some ways we get so, you know, we've been dealing with, as we know, this police violence all of our lives, all of our parents' lives, all of our grandparents' lives. This is nothing new. And in some ways in order for us to survive, we become inured to it. And, you know, oh gosh, I mean, even since Breonna Taylor, I've been working on this story. There's been Jacob Blake. There's been, you know, all this stuff. And going down and reporting this story and making this film and talking to the people in her community, the trauma that it has inflicted, not only on the friends and family, but on the city. On the city, and really seeing that was visible.
Wow.
So that was really, you know, just wow. This
absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, because the case is still unfolding, how did you decide how to end it? How did you decide how to wrap up the story?
Yeah, really good question. Well, one thing is that we were told at various points in making the film that, you know, there were various rumors that the investigation was going to be imminently released. So we had to sort of keep that open if that was the case. Of course, it hasn't been the case. We wanted to, the producers, the executive producers, and I really felt that getting the film out here at the time that we did, it would have the most impact. And so,
why so? I'm curious.
Well, because there was such momentum around her case, right? Everything had been building and building and building. And you have to, you know, part of filmmaking and documentary filmmaking is a timeliness of when it's going to, you know, get eyes on it, and when it's going to, you know, make a difference in terms of people, in terms of how people understand the film, like what we just understand the case, like what we talked about. So, you know, as we moved closer to that date, that air date, we became increasingly convinced that we wanted to meet it, that September 4th air date. And we knew that the film, what we always knew is kind of what I just mentioned, is that we needed to take a wider lens about what was happening around policy and around the LMPD, what was going on in the LMPD. And so we focused on the events. So the structure was you know, in terms of the investigation, is what led up to that night in terms of the warrants and the police justification and the objections to that, and then how that warrant was badly executed. And then that is, you know, and that is where we left it in terms of, because that's all we know. We still don't know which bullets shot her. We still don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know what the FBI, so there's two different investigations too. There's the AG investigation, Daniel Cameron, protege of Mitch McConnell, first African-American AG of Kentucky, spoke at the Republican National Convention. So he's looking at, or his office is looking at, what happened that night. And apparently he just said that they have the ballistics reports now. So that means that somebody knows which bullet shot her.
Yeah, where that bullet came from, exactly.
Yeah. And then there's the FBI investigation, which looks at the larger issue around everything that led up to that night. So were those warrants justified?
And the civil rights of it.
And the civil rights, exactly, if her civil rights were violated. Now, the thing that, usually the AG report comes out before, the AG results come out before the FBI civil rights violation. What complicates it, of course, going back to what happened that night and complicates it, is that Kenny, her boyfriend, because he thought they were being broken into, he fired a shot. So, and then the police fired, as he said, a whole mess of shots.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That does complicate the, because the police do have, in the system, the way our system works, have a right to defend themselves.
Again,
so that
back to the word system.
Exactly.
The system
exactly. Yeah.
Is what we need to address.
Yeah. So that makes attempted murder charges or murder charges harder. Because of that and more complicated. I mean, again, we'll see what happens with the report. Now, with the FBI investigation, they have a wider latitude of, were her civil rights violated?
Yes.
Now, there's the FBI working on the ground. My understanding is that the FBI, agents who are working on the ground, the local FBI. But even if they do find something, and this is one of our sources told me this the other day, even if they do find her civil rights were violated, it still has to go to the FBI, the national FBI, and that's William Barr. And so they would have to choose to move forward on that.
Well, that's William Barr today. How about in a few weeks?
Well, again, that's the right. In 2 months.
Can we push it back?
Yes. Because I do not have confidence that William Barr is going to, if they present, that her rights were violated, that he would pursue it. So that scared me. But yes, maybe maybe it will be changed. Hopefully it will be changed.
Well, Yoruba, we can't thank you enough for the work manifest that you put into the killing of Breonna Taylor. We want to let all y'all need to go to Hulu right now. If you don't have Hulu,
thank you.
Just look at the commercials and just get the freebie.
Oh, and can I just say one quick thing? Yes. My Harry Belafonte film premiered on it's on Peacock, the streaming service, and it actually was on MSNBC last night. And I think they're going to do one more broadcast, so look out for that. It's called The Sit-In. Harry Belafonte hosts The Tonight Show.
Well, I'll watch anything with Harry Belafonte.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
So thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Thank you for coming on the show. And really, I mean, if people haven't seen the film yet, just your breakdown. Like, I'm sure people in the chat was like, oh, I didn't know that. That's how you feel when you watch the film. She really gets into the nuances. So thank you.
Of course.
Richard, for making the film and being on your Gay Aunties.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
All right.
You too.
All right, girl.
So now, my God.
I know. We need some musical bomb.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because to
balance out this energy.
To balance out the energy.
Oh, my neck is tight.
All right, let's go to the post show. Let's go to the post show right now so we hear some stuff. Yes. Hey, Kiera.
Hey.
How wonderful.
Great job. Thank you. Today has been awesome.
Yeah.
The week was just like dragging along. So I've been looking forward to Sunday. Sunday is like the best day of the week for me now.
Oh,
it's like podcasts, and then all my shows come on, and then we got Versus today.
Yeah.
So I have some of our favorite aunties in music.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, before we bring on our wonderful guests, we got to make sure that y'all up in the comments with your aunties later on today at Apple Podcasts, I think, where it's going to be Patti LaBelle versus Gladys Knight.
Ooh, honey.
And we had a little combo earlier. Some of us are on the Gladys team.
I'm on both sides.
I'm on whatever, and I'm on Patty T. Now, I love me some Gladys Knight now. I love me some Gladys Knight, but Patty gonna
I love them both for different reasons too.
That's
For
a nice
different
way of putting
reasons. Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's the way most of these verses go though. It's like
yes.
you know.
Absolutely. So, talking about the music, we have a musical guest who is joining us today.
Ooh, yes. All right. So, like, we debuted actually her music on the show. Debuted it to you guys on the show. Last episode 93 is Auntie Gem, right?
Yes.
But now we have her here to perform live. So just so if you don't know who this woman is, Stephanie Gale, all right, is a singer, songwriter, producer, and fine artist from PG County, Maryland.
Hey, my neighbor.
So she began writing music at the tender age of 8 and began producing her own music at age of 16. At 18, she decided to move to New York. At 18, she moved to New York. Okay. To get her degree in fine arts and simultaneously pursue her music career. Now, in February 2019, she released her long-anticipated debut LP, Songs About Thee. And in December of 2019, she released her first holiday project entitled Christmas at 7222, Volume 1. And she has Volume 2, Christmas album coming out in the coming months, weeks. And now, y'all, ladies, gents, folks, everyone, your gay aunties, welcome Stephanie Gale.
Woo!
Yes. Oh, she got to take off her mute. Put her back on the whole thing. She don't know she on mute. Put her back on the thing so she can see us waving. Girl, we don't hear you. Girl, we don't hear you. Is something on mute? Is your thing on mute? Is it on mute? Is it on mute? Is it on mute?
Yes.
Check it. Make sure.
It's a little box in the corner.
A little box in the corner. See you say mute.
There you go.
There you go. I'm going to say it again. Let's rewind that. Rewind it. We're going to introduce it back in. All right, rewind it. Take everybody out. Let's do it. I said, ladies and gentlemen, folks, and thereabouts, your gay aunties, welcome Stephanie Gale.
Right.
Oh, man. Thank you all. Thank you, Hanifa Walida. Thank you, Red Summer. Thank you, everyone, for joining your Gay Aunties, episode 94. I am Stephanie Gale, and I am going to perform one song for you. It's a fan favorite, and it's entitled Vulnerable for all the people out there.
Yay!
The song is for you.
Yes.
So let's do it. You may know me, but do you really know me? Are you willing to take the time to know who I am? So many layers to uncover. Are you ready to go that deep? See, the ones that truly know me understand the very soul of me. I'm a good woman with a good heart, most fail to see. I invite you to take a minute to not use your eyes, but use your heart to see. Don't be afraid, it's okay. It's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to be scared, to be hurt, to be broken. It's part of the deal when you have a soul. It's time to let it go. It's time to face another day. You may never find the answers to the questions inside you, but perhaps it's better to know you'll be okay. Yeah. It truly hurt me more than you ever know. Never knew pain so real, is this deep. To a point where I couldn't move, completely numb to any other feeling. Hey, hey. Now I hope that it's burning on me. My friends don't even recognize me. I stare into the mirror, viewing an empty shell for who I used to be. Pain is in everything I say you do. I wonder if the love I felt will return to me. Yeah, but for now I'll be okay. It's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to be scared, to be hurt, to be broken. It's part of the deal when you ever so. It's time to let it go. Time to face another day. You may never find the answers to the questions inside you, but perhaps it's better to know you'll be okay. Yeah. To know that I'm stronger than I say I am. Even in defeat, I can take a stand. Recognize that loss can also lead to gain. That the sun can still shine even in the rain. I'm baby down now, but I'm far from out. Even in the face of despair or even doubt, I just really needed time to figure it out. See the image of the woman that I am now. It's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to be scared, to be hurt, to be broken. It's part of the deal when you ever sound. Just let it go. Gotta face another day. You may never find the answers to the questions inside you, but perhaps it's better to know you'll be okay. Hey. You'll be okay. Thank you, y'all.
Woo! Yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Thank you for being on the
Not a
show.
problem.
Thank you for being on this show, Stephanie. Ooh, I mean, I'm so glad that you song vulnerable. You know. All right, let's not get the fedora. Let's not get the fedora competition because you're not hot and going to clap.
Thank you.
But thank you, Stephanie, for being on the show. And you picked the perfect song to perform. I think it kind of helps capture what we've been talking about. You know, this consistent level of vulnerability that we have as Black people.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, as one masculine sister to another, who are also singers, you know, the show is really to help those who are coming up in the ranks and trying to navigate this. And I know there are plenty of musicians and singers or front people who look like us, right? Who identify as women and who are masculine, androgynous, you really can't tell, right? How do you command the stage? How do you keep yourself on the stage? On the stage in any sort of, metaphorical sense, whatever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know what? I always made a conscious choice in the beginning to just be myself no matter what, because at the end of the day, that's what people are going to see. Even if you try to put on the front or try to put on a persona, you know, that you may try to construct. You know, at the end of the day, you're going to end up, yourself is going to come out of that. So I never wanted to make my situation as a singer or a songwriter any more complicated than it already is. You know how difficult it is to navigate through this business and through just being a singer and trying to get gigs and trying to, you know, just get your name out there. So I always made the decision to make things less complicated for myself and just be myself. And you have to love yourself, you know, from the start. That's the foundation. You have to love your uniqueness. You have to love, you know, what you bring to the table, and you have to understand that, you know, it's just as important and just as valid and vital as anyone else or anything else that comes out there. So
exactly. What Auntie Steph is saying right now, no. It's real practical, because the whole key, and this is to anyone who's performing. If you're not confident about yourself and can ooze a certain kind of love for what you're doing in the exact moment when you're on stage, you will never command an audience. You will never command an audience. All right. And you can use being on stage to gain that confidence.
Exactly.
You know, but you got to step on it 100% yourself, or just like, just stop. Just don't do that to yourself. Don't do it to the audience. Don't do it to the music.
It has to be authentic, you know. You know, oh, thank you, Taisha, by the way. But you know, I mean, the audience won't respect you until you respect yourself and respect the fact that you are unique. You know what you deal with in regular life. I have to deal with a lot of crazy things in my normal life, and if you're not able to, you know, handle that kind of, you know, your normal life, you know, being on stage, it's gonna translate, you know. So
yeah,
you know, you have to have command for yourself, and you have to have respect for yourself in order for the audience and the fans to respect you and understand why you're taking that journey, why you're doing what you're doing, and what it's for, you know. So
yeah. Well, I love the song. It's an amazing message, and even the more that I listen to it, like, I just grow deeper in appreciation for it. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. And I know you're going to join us to answer the next letter. Before we do that, just let everybody know what. Excuse me.
Oh, I was just gonna say, can you tell us like what your latest projects are?
I was about to ask. That's
why I said, oh, you got it. You was on it.
I got it. All right.
Can I say one more thing before you all get into that? Because I wanted to send a special shout out to Hanifa Wanlita, because I followed you when I first came to New York, and I used to watch you perform at Wild Cafe Theater and Temperamental and all that. But just seeing you on stage and seeing how you express yourself so effortlessly, like that, that affected me in my performances. So
say word.
I just wanted to give you props and respect for that.
Say word.
Not a problem.
But and then where can we find your work?
Exactly.
So you can find my work everywhere. I'm on all streaming sites, particularly Spotify, Apple Music. I'm on Bandcamp as well. If you want to,
Bandcamp.
Want to get a little closer and provide funds for me more quickly without much of the business getting in the way. But you can find me everywhere. Like I said, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, everywhere.
Just what's the new album coming out?
I'm working on my next project, which is Christmas of 7222 Volume 2. I'm actually working on a couple of projects, but that's the one that's coming in the next couple of months. And then I'm doing a joint project with my mentor and my big brother, Substantial. We're working on a project together as well. So a lot coming up.
Well, let us know about the Christmas album.
Hey, for sure.
But we're going to need good music after November, all right?
Okay.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna now move on to our second letter of the show.
Woohoo!
Okay, and Stephanie Gale is going to help us answer this letter, and it's a doozy.
Here's your letter.
All right. You want to get this one too, or I can do it?
Up to you. We can split it up.
Let's split it up. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, here you go. All right, so this letter is from Hannah. All right. The woman that has everything. Dear Arnie, so I have a question. How do you impress a woman that has her own, that's very independent and doesn't want nothing but love and loyalty? Where's she at? She continues, Hannah continues, I'm pursuing her. I used to be scared of independent women because I can't impress them or don't know how. So I'll settle with women. I'll settle with women who don't have anything. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So I'll settle with women who don't have anything going on.
Oh man.
and blow lots of money to keep them happy.
Right.
Ooh,
But now
I ain't done. I ain't done.
Oh no.
Now I've found an independent woman that isn't impressed with money, doesn't need me to buy her anything, has her own everything. Now I'm lost on how to impress her. How can I keep a smile on her face? How can I better someone that's better without me? Now I don't have to be a mind reader to know what a lot of us are going to say. So I'll just chip at a little bit of it.
Okay.
Hannah, your preoccupation, not just with this woman, but how you see the women you have access to or women you want to approach, needs to be addressed way before you ever do it again. You need to look at your words. I'm just going to read a couple of lines, okay? I used to be scared of independent women because I can't, finite statement, I can't impress them or don't know how. I settle for women who don't have nothing going on, which is basically a reflection of what you feel about yourself, that you don't have nothing going on or don't have enough going on to impress whomever you need to impress. And I'll say this, I'm gonna leave it to my aunties. If you are doing all this to impress someone,
Doing too much.
You're doing too much. Because anyone that's worth a goddamn, you should not be doing backflips or dropping rent on. Period. Okay.
Kira, I'm interested to hear your response to this one.
I personally feel like you cannot trying to impress somebody, that's not going to make them want to love you. And if it does, then that person really don't care about you. They care about all the things that you can give them. So you should really be focusing more on the little things. Like if the person already has everything, then how are you loving them? How are you supporting, this person and showing them love in a non-materialistic way? Like that's where the focus should be, I feel like.
But she's always talking about dropping money on people, and that is her vein towards impressing someone. So then the question is, do you know how to impress with just yourself? If you don't have a dime in your pocket, where does your value and your worth lie? If you can't answer the question, then this is really in your ballpark to deal with. It has nothing to do with this woman.
True. Stephanie?
Yeah. I agree with both ladies. If you have to put too much thought into trying to impress that person, then you're doing too much from the start. To be able to, garner someone's attention, that just comes naturally, and you should just be yourself. Which is what I was saying in the beginning. I think my mom used to tell me all the time, like, just be yourself. Why are you trying so hard? Like, just be yourself. And, throughout my life, like just being myself, even if I flubbed something or messed up or what have you, like it worked. It all worked out in the end because the person just genuinely appreciated and liked me for who I was. And in most cases, people will, like you and respect you for being genuine and being yourself. So, and I've dated women that have had more money than myself, like that have pulled out wads of cash while we're out dating. It's nothing to them.
It happens. It's called being queer. It happens.
So exactly. So it doesn't matter. Like if that person's having fun with you and you all are genuinely having a good time, then it shouldn't matter at the end. You shouldn't be looking at their finances. They're not worried about it. They're fine. They just want to have fun.
Right. And their finances are not your finances, so why are you worried about it?
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? What you're creating with her is just that. It has nothing to do with what she did before you to gain her finances, for you to see her as someone that has everything. That has nothing to do with you. You two are in this moment in time together. What do you both bring into the table to make it even worth a damn?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So I will add, you already answered your question in your question. How do I impress a woman that has her own, that is independent and doesn't want nothing but love and loyalty? Baby, give her some love and loyalty.
Love and loyalty.
Exactly.
Period.
She just gave you the answer.
You are making this so much harder on yourself, because the thing is, I know I present this problem because I'm not a very materialistic person in a lot of ways. And so I complicate it because I'm just like, can you just create an experience that I will enjoy? Like, can we have a good conversation? And at the end of that conversation, we like, whoo, that was good, right? Because
listen, you want to drop some drawers, get your conversation skills up.
Yeah, if I'm not looking for you to give me things that I feel I'm lacking, then I'm looking for you to give me an experience that I can enjoy and that will make this interaction between us more fulfilling and not a wasting of my time, right? Because if she's so independent, then she probably got a lot of things that she could be doing right now other than spending time with you. And so you don't have to go out and spend a whole lot of money, right? And you said when you and I'll use this phrase, and I hate even that I'm gonna say it, but like when you're dating down, right? That's what you get to do. You get to come in and you get to, posture, and you get to say, here, I got the check, baby, right? Or here's the gift, right? And so you're at a loss when you're dating up, because that thing that you normally do that impresses them, right? You don't have that trick in your arsenal anymore. And so now the only gift that you have is yourself. Are you showing up? Are you presenting an experience and an environment that is something that she will want to stop doing whatever she's doing so independently, right? And give you her focus.
Right.
Yes. If not, then she should.
Yeah, we gotta make it your gay aunties, young gentlemen, grooming school or something, young stud grooming school. Because when you said create an experience, girl, I was like, yeah, I want to learn. Like, I mean, it's like, wait, now you opening a Pandora's box. So wait a minute, we can experiences, and you know what, Hannah, experiences can cost $3.64 a cup of coffee. Because the comes with that cup of coffee is all this conversation we're talking about, all these ways you guys can connect just by being in each other's presence over a cup of coffee.
And they're mutual. You're used to giving this way. When you're creating an experience, it's shared. It's something that you all have, this memory, that giggle about what happened yesterday. Like, that's way better than a pair of shoes or something. Forgive me, ladies. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't say that.
You're messing up our day, yo.
No, it's true.
I hope they go shop next week.
That is true.
And I'm sorry, shoes.
You're not looking at the shoes, Tyler.
But yeah, that's what you give. And then those are the things that show like your time and planning something out, that you were thoughtful about her, that you thought about things that she would enjoy, and you're enjoying them with her, right? Instead of it just being here, I got you a coupon to go get a massage. Go. Right.
Exactly.
Okay,
and
great.
also what comes with you saying here, what you come just is being one directional. A lot of times studs who kind of that I'm just money is my worth type of thing, or that's how I get to you. What comes with that are conditions, whether you say it or not. Over time, that money becomes resentment and conditions come into play. Well, I've done this for you. I did that. Well, I did that for you though. I paid for that. That don't mean nothing. I don't care if you bought a 50 pair of shoes. You don't own nobody's time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't own nobody's time. It ain't worth a damn. So you best, I have a personal rule. You know what I'm saying? I definitely keep it budgetary on them first couple days. Like, but and if a bitch start complaining, then the bitch ain't for me. And excuse me saying bitch, but I'm just gonna say it. Okay? Or she don't at least, there's not all these assumptions that I'm just paying every time. Dutch got to come out her mouth at least once a month.
We're going Dutch. Yes.
You know what I mean?
At least the first few times.
Exactly. I'm not just saying that, if you have the money, fine. And some people are into just paying all the time. That's your thing. Whatever. That's not my thing because I'm looking for a certain kind of woman that is not particularly into that. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if you're into that, hey, whatever. Who am I to say? Right. But Hannah, you need to make sure you into that. Okay. Because you complain about dropping money. So if you are going to be the kind of chick that drops money, again, not judging, you need to be on like a budget or rather you need to make sure that people that you meet, that they're not there for the money. Let them go through a gauntlet a little bit before you start dropping money on people.
Right.
Just drop $3.64, a cup of coffee, and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But I think also at the end of the day, like people want to feel present. They want to feel like they're seen. Money doesn't have to come into the equation for that person to be seen. Just be engaged and listen to the person, like take them in and really understand what they're about and go from there. Especially if you're genuinely interested in that person, like really engage yourself and immerse yourself into who they are as a person and what makes them, what gives them life.
She said it.
Yeah.
Your job is to find out what gives her life and you be a part of that.
Right.
Or see if you're a part of that. To get you into that, and maybe you may not be able to do that.
Right.
Absolutely.
You say
that's a word.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Hannah. I hope that we were able to help you, give you some clarity moving forward with this woman that you were so impressed by and want to impress. All right. But we look forward to you impressing yourself, girl.
Right.
Impress yourself before you impress someone else. Listen, impress yourself before someone else, whatever. I'm trying to do the remix. Anyway.
Well, yes, thank you so much for your letter, Hannah. And if any of you all want to write your gay aunties to make sense of your young and messy life, come on and tap your aunties on the shoulder by sending us a letter at yourgayaunties@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram at yourgayaunties, or you can just go to yourgayaunties.com and there is a button that you can click, write your aunties. Do it right there. Either way, we'll get it and we will answer them.
Say word. And next week, ooh, are your seatbelts on? Is it click the click? All right. So next week, we welcome Alicia Garza to the show. We will never have enough time to talk about all the things we can talk about with Alicia Garza. But this will be a beautiful opportunity to ask Alicia Garza questions live as both an activist and, your auntie. Now, some may wonder, how y'all get Alicia Garza? Well, look, 3,000 followers. Well, the answer I'm going to answer that by leaving you with this. Look around, children, at your pool of friends. Look left, look right. Some of them, if not yourself, are going to do great things in life. Things you can't imagine at this age.
Yeah.
So, the way you treat the people in your life now is an investment in how they show up in your life later. That being said, Alicia Garland's going to be on the show in episode 95 in just a couple of weeks this Sunday, September 26th. You're going to enjoy it. So join us then. Don't forget to subscribe below. And with that, I'm Hanifa Walida.
I'm Red Summer.
I'm Kiara Sheree. Happens every time.
Right. Say your name.
And it's Steph, y'all. Stephanie Gale.
And it was all like grandchild. And it's Steph. Not yet. Okay. And it's Steph. Anyway, y'all, we love you and we're the Gay Aunties. Bye-bye, y'all. See you in a couple weeks.
Later, everyone.
Thank you.